Hey everybody, it's Kyle,
And it's Kristina.
and this is the CP Chronicles. We are back, and we're back with some exciting news, or rather, Kristina is back with some exciting news. So
Yeah.
let's just jump right into it. Thanks. We would normally be on, if you're wondering why I didn't say Disability Global Broadcast, we're not on there right now. We're having some issues, I guess. So thanks for joining us here on Facebook.
Yeah,
But
it's super good to be here again after hiatus. We love this show, but every once in a while life gets in the way and we need a break. So we thank you all for, sticking it out and missing us for our last show that got canceled, but we're back and
yeah, thanks for being here. And at first I was like, what are we going to talk about? And then Christina's like, well, I got to tell them. I got to tell them the news. So I'm going to pass it over to you.
yes, I have things to talk about today, guys. I'm super excited um, that you know, those of you who have been watching our show for a while know that I've been in physical therapy for a long time. And I mean, 2 years is a long time. It's been like 2 years and 4 months at this point. So, been a long road. And there was talk at my last visit of like, hey, I'm thinking we're in a really good place right now. And maybe we could go to more of like a monitoring type thing. And I was like, oh, because, I like my routine. And my physical therapist was like, I probably should have warned you, Christina. I was like, it's probably better if you don't just warn me and be like, this is your last appointment, K bye. So I don't have a chance to be sad about it because,
Yeah, you would, knowing you for as long as I have, you would go in there already sad because you would
yeah,
know
like
it's
knowing
the
that.
last one.
So I don't know. I feel like part of me isn't going to be as sad though because it's not like I'm not going to be able to get a hold of somebody if I need something. And I do agree that I'm in a much better place than what I was, 2.5 years ago when I started out. And it hurt to put my shoes on in the morning because my legs and back were so tight. Um, so right now I have one more appointment on the calendar, which is April 20th, which is right after my birthday. But then in the notes that I read, since my physical therapist is always kind enough to share her notes with me, she said she plans for 4 more visits and then we'll reassess at that point because we also had a discussion about using 2 crutches versus 1 crutch, and I'm cleared for 1 crutch now for just like short distances. So we kind of want to monitor that. And the second thing we're going to want to monitor here for a little bit is gradually me weaning myself off of the ankle supports I've been using under my braces to really get like the full effect of the new braces and all that ankle flexibility. When I started with those braces, that ankle flexibility was too much. But the hope is to sort of gradually back off of needing those supports. And that's not something that my physical therapist, I guess, wants me doing without some sort of a monitoring going on just to make sure that nothing goes sideways while we're working through both of those things. So those are basically my 2 goals for the near future.
Hey Josh, hey Nikki, thanks for joining us. I
Hey,
had some questions, well, some questions add-ons. Can you believe it's been 2.5 years of physical therapy?
uh, no, I definitely didn't think I was going to be back for that long when I started. I mean, granted, part of me knew that I was in some not so great shape when she started stretching me out and it hurt that bad. But yeah, I never imagined that but it's been a difficult 2 years and 4 months, but it's also been a huge blessing. And I just know that I wouldn't be doing all the crazy things I'm doing right now. I wouldn't have been doing the things I did today at the gym either if it wasn't for the last couple of years of, hard work and just consistency every day trying to do what I need to do to be better. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for joining us. If you're just tuning in, Christina is on the verge of leaving physical therapy. she's cutting it down. They're cutting it down to a monitoring phase, and we're just kind of discussing her journey at this point. But I wanted to say you've started using one crutch now for short distances. How has that been? Like,
Um,
was it jarring at first to be?
no, I love it. I love it. I was going to say something else, but I won't say something else because we might replay this on the radio. No, I'm really fucking excited. Sorry, y'all. Because for those of you who don't know, I have always used one crutch. Okay, and pretty much used one almost exclusively up until about maybe a year ago or 8 months ago or something like that when I started having back problems. And my physical therapist was like, "Hey, I'm thinking." And I was like, "What are you thinking?" And she's like, "You're not going to like it." I'm like, "Okay, hit me with it." She's like, "I'm thinking maybe two crutches for a while." And I was like, "Oof, I don't know. I don't know about that." So, yeah, I wasn't sure at first. And I was glad that two crutches worked out. It really did reduce the strain on my back. I mean, I could tell even just like walking down the hallway for my physical therapist that with two versus with one, there was a lot more stability, a lot less hip rotation. So it just puts a lot less stress on my back. But part of the plus of that now, too, I guess, is I can carry stuff again. So, because I have a free hand now, I don't have a crutch in both hands. And then really just, I don't know, I guess it just feels normal to me to have one.
Yeah, it
Good.
just it feels right to you
Yeah,
still, like because I mean we kind of had opposites in that aspect. I was always two, and then I was down to one for a while. And I back to two, but I do miss having that free hand to carry things.
I don't think it's bad to use one if you're carrying something for a real short distance either. Like, it's not going to necessarily hurt you, but
Yeah, I do. There are times where it's like we have to ditch this because it's especially at work trying to help get lunches ready or something. Like I cannot do this with two. I got to do it with one.
right. You need a free arm for sure to be able to do some of that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
even just like work, I haven't because I do have kind of a trek to get to my classroom. I haven't used one crutch to go into school. I've still been taking two into school because I teach up on the third floor, kind of on the opposite side of the building from where I come in. Just makes more sense to do that. But when I get to one crutch for some longer distances, I'm hoping that I can ditch my backpack and go back to my nice little rolly suitcase that I always had before. I feel like that just frees up a lot more and I can carry a lot more with that than with a backpack. Plus, the tough part of having a backpack on my back is I was trying not to carry very much around in it because I was having back problems. And you don't want to make the back problems worse by carrying around 30 pounds of stuff in your backpack for work. Like, that's
yeah,
not
that's counteractive to what you're trying to do.
right.
Is there a scenario where you think or scenarios where you might use two still, like
I
5Ks maybe?
yeah, I don't see any issue personally with like using two crutches for 5K. I think that's a good safety thing, especially if I'm, really going for some speed and really like gunning for it, so to speak. It's probably good to have some more stability so I don't trip and fall on my face because I do still occasionally drag my left foot when I get tired. So yeah, that and honestly, I think at first when I first moved to two crutches, it was more of a like, oh, I have to do this, and I don't want to say shame, but that's almost what it felt like. I was like, really, I have to do this now? This is terrible. Like, and as positive of a person as I am, that's how I felt in that moment. And now I'm looking back and I'm going, okay, I can totally see where using two is a helpful thing, and I don't have to do it all the time, but I at least have that option. And also, I will say I've never been very coordinated at using two because my left arm has always been weaker, and I always felt like I didn't really know what to do with a crutch on that side. So even when I did switch to two, it took me a while for it to feel not awkward. I felt like I just was like hanging a crutch off that arm, like, what do I do with this thing? And what
Now that you've been lifting though, has it made a difference?
Oh, I think definitely my gym routines have helped because my arms are more equally toned and I'm able to use both without like when I first started using that left crutch, my arm hurt. My arm was tired because I'm not used to flexing that way. I'm not used to supporting myself with that side. But now it doesn't bother me at all. But I think you're right that some of my gym routines have something to do with that. Some of the muscle I've built up. Hey, Lena,
Hey,
thank
Lena,
you.
good to see you. Um, well, speaking of gym, you've been walking on the treadmill a lot, and dare I say, even running a little bit.
Uh,
So,
yeah, I've been kind of testing the waters there. I know we did a previous episode on my new Allard braces. They do offer a lot more ankle flexibility than my previous braces, which, from a fast walk slash running standpoint, is good because it gives you more flexibility and it gives you more push off when you are trying to go faster. And I remember getting my braces. Darren, the guy who makes them, I always forget what his title is. He's told me before, and the word's going to escape me, but I call him my braces guy.
yeah,
I remember him telling me that when you get these braces broken in and you're doing 5Ks in these, it's going to be easier for you to run that finish line because of the flexibility of these. And I'm finding that as I'm getting more comfortable in them and getting on the treadmill and trying to go faster, that it is possible for me to run even just a little bit, 30, 45 seconds at a time because of the flexibility that I had now. There was no way before that I could do that in the braces that I had. So it's been fun experimenting with that, but it's also been one of those things that I have to be very, very careful about because I ran too much on Wednesday and was pretty sore for a couple of days. And then today, when I went to the gym, I didn't really run at all. I just did some walking in my upper body routine and said, all right, Kristina, you're going to give your body a break or it's going to tell you that,
it's gonna revolt.
yeah, it's going to tell you that it needs one. So, and things have been kind of exciting in that sense. I feel like I've always been a positive person. I feel like I've always been a confident person, but I feel more confident now going to the gym. Like I look in the mirror and I like what I see, and I'm stronger, I'm more flexible, and I'm just doing everything I feel like I can to take care of me, and that's been just an awesome, awesome confidence boost over the last couple of years.
Yeah, because even confident people can still build on their confidence. So,
Right.
and I've noticed a big difference in you. Even, everyone say she's always been that way. Well, she's even more now. So keep going, keep
Right.
going.
I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's been
But I did want to say, so you haven't started the like ankle supports, like taking them away at all yet.
No, Trisha and I discussed, and she felt, and I agreed that that might be more of a summer thing, only because with work, I mean, I'm on my feet a lot at work, so I need ankle supports. So there's not really a good time to switch anything out there. And I guess summer is just one of those times where I get more periods of rest too. Like I can go walk 2.5 miles and chill for a couple hours on the couch or, go do some light housework, whatever. And I'm not putting so much stress on everything. So summer just seems to be a good time to back that off because I can really gradually build up my distances without those and rest when I need to and not have to worry about being at work and needing the ankle supports during a portion of the day. So.
Yeah. Because I know how busy school can get, and the idea of like, okay, I'm hurting and I need to put my ankle supports on. There's no time because you got 5 minute passing periods.
Right, right. But
Unless they want to watch you put them on. Like
I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be completely honest. When I first got these new braces and was only wearing them part of the day, I'd sit there in my study all after lunch and whip my old braces off and put the new ones on. And nobody said a thing about it. I was like, hey, but I usually would try to do it over lunch, but we have a shorter lunch this year with COVID protocol, so sometimes it just didn't happen. But
Well, that's really, I mean, you have come a long, long way. Because we've had a lot of conversations about your time in therapy. So to hear that you're on the cusp of, being done. Because I remember when I was done, I called you like, I'm done. Like I can't believe I'm like because I didn't know either. They kind of spring it on you like
yeah,
so. Because you don't always know. Like you can tell like yeah, I'm making progress, but you don't. Well, I didn't always think like is what where are we headed? Like, how much progress do you think they think I can make still, or like, what's their benchmarks of like when I'm going to be done? So when your physical therapist says, "Hey, we've hit that point," you're like, "We have." Like, I still was like, "Oh, I didn't realize I was doing that good."
well, and part of me knew that it was coming. I mean, it's not over yet. Like, I've still got some other visits and another evaluation, but part of me knew that this, like, weaning off physical therapy thing was coming. I mean, my workouts have been super consistent and balance has been somewhat better. My flexibility is where it needs to be. I just feel like everything was kind of lining up to where I'm not miserable in between visits anymore. Like, yes, do I look forward to them? Absolutely, mostly because I like spending time with my physical therapist and just catching up with her. But yeah, it's not like it was before where I was waiting to like couldn't wait to go and get needled or like some of the massage or stuff like that. It's different now. It's better now than what it was, and while physical therapy is still helpful, I'm not so miserable anymore. So I can totally see moving to more of a monitoring phase being a smart thing to do so that I still have support if I need it, but I'm not having to spend the money to be there as much because as much as I love physical therapy, it's not cheap. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because there was a point in time when you were like, I hope my doctor gives me another order for, you know, at, I think you ended up getting a year's prescription, but you
Right.
were really concerned that she wasn't going to see the value of physical therapy at a certain point. So to
Well,
finally have
yeah,
you know, you're finally at the point where it's like, wow, I don't need it as regularly as I did. And monitoring is all that's really necessary. It's a big step.
yeah. It's been a long time coming. I mean, I I did it to myself. It's like I said in my blog post, when I got that lazy, I did it to myself, and it's only really my fault that I ended up there, but I'm just fine that I am the type of person who wanted to make the most of it, because looking back now, I can't imagine being stuck where I was 2.5 years ago and being okay with that. Like, I don't ever want to go back there, and I'm not going to at this point because I've worked too hard. So,
Right. Well, and that's why I think you've been so successful is because you took accountability for the fact that, you know, you did things and even when I was in therapy, I did things that led us both back to physical therapy.
right.
And that's important to realize that it did happen because I got lazy or you got lazy or whatever. So to realize, okay, now I have to take it back. I have to take back control. I have to take back my power, and I have to make the most of this. And that was what I said to myself every time I went in there. Like, I don't want to have surgery because that's what they're like. If this doesn't work, we might have to visit surgery. And I was like, I'm going to do everything I can to not, have that as an option. Um, and that's where success comes from. You have to want to do it, and
And you
you
have to not be angry at other people too. Like there are times when I don't always like what we do in physical therapy, but it's not anybody's fault that I'm needing all this. It's mine. Like I can somewhat use my frustration as a motivator too, but I always had to remind myself, like, you put yourself in this situation and you got to get yourself out of it. So you better do everything they're telling you should do. We got a comment from Lena. She says, since I am in my new power chair, I'm finding that my leg strength is stronger and my upper body strength is even stronger at the same time. I feel more independent. I'm super proud of myself. Yeah, Lena is
I'm proud of you, Lena.
friends. She's just so awesome. She has worked and worked and worked and advocated to get this chair that she needed, and she finally did, and we are so happy for you. It's great to have more independence and to be able to do more because, like you said, Lena, when we have any disability and we're able to do more, that's going to keep us stronger and keep us more mobile. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all.
Definitely. Well, and speaking of advocating, good segue, Lena. Kristina has also wanted to talk about advocating for ourselves at our doctor's appointments.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like sometimes at doctor's visits, we tend to, or at least when I was a kid, luckily things usually went pretty well. It would be like a super long car ride, and then you're there for 10, 15 minutes. And that's fine if you don't have a concern. But if you do have concerns, I'm going to encourage anybody out there to just write them down so that you have them. You're able to better vocalize them that way. If you forget something, it's there, and then you don't have the doctors, trying to rush you off so that they can go to the next appointment because they're double booked or whatever. And I know a lot of doctors' offices double book their appointments these days. But also, as a patient, that's not our problem. And if there's an issue that we need to discuss with our doctor, we need to make sure that we're able to do that. I've built a decent relationship with my current doctor now, my leg doctor, because I've been there more with being in physical therapy, and I do feel better about asking her questions. But even a couple of visits ago, we talked about several things, and it was maybe a 10-minute visit. But then she was like, "Oh, if you don't have any more questions, I'll go get your visit summary." And I was like, "Oh no, I've got like 3 more things here I want to talk about, and Botox is one of them." And I feel like if I hadn't written those down, I might have forgotten something and maybe not gotten the discussion that I wanted to have with the doctor to get everything, lined up and ready to go. So
Yeah, because they're kind of in the flow of like get you in, get you out. And as a kid, you don't always think about like when they say, "Do you have any questions for me?" As a kid, I was kind of like, no, because I didn't know what to ask as a kid. So, if my parents had questions, the doctor would answer those questions. But as a kid, it was always like, I don't know what I need to ask or want to ask. So as I grew up, it really was like, okay, if I have something I want to ask, I need to make sure that I let them know.
right. Right. And I think when you're a real young kid, it's not knowing what to ask or not having maybe as much concern for your overall everything. You just want to hear that you're good.
Right.
Like, that's it. And that's part of being a kid. But as an adult, I guess I'm just really glad these last couple appointments I take my little pink journal with me, and I have, it's the same notebook I write questions in for my physical therapist, and I have, concerns written down, questions written down, things that I want to make sure to talk about. And I'll be writing as she's talking to me because I don't want to forget. And she chuckles at me because she knows I'm a teacher, and maybe that's a stereotypical teacher thing, and that's fine. But I just like to have stuff written down. It's part of my organizational thing. I need to have it written down so that I can process everything even after the appointment.
Well, and even when Trisha says, "What did they say?" You could be like, "This is what they said."
Right.
Because
Right. Well, and the nice thing too now about technology with like the OSF app, you can see doctors' notes if they post them. And the last visit I had with my leg doctor 6 months ago, she did post notes after my visit. So I went through and actually just read real quick what she noted that we talked about. And I mean, I probably didn't really need to read those, but it's just nice that they also have a record that you can see of like, these are the things that we discussed. This is approximately how long the visit was, blah, 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 you know?
Yeah, because if you're traveling all the way, especially for us, hour and a half, 2 hours for appointments, like you want to make the most of those appointments.
Absolutely. I mean, and then of course we always make the most of like being in some bigger town and we have to go
Yeah.
eat too because that's the other thing.
My
Um,
thing was always Cracker Barrel for whatever reason. We would go after, go to the appointment. If it was good or bad, 99% it was good. And then it'd be like, okay, we're going to Cracker Barrel.
well, and I was lucky enough as a kid. My grandparents always went with us to like the big doctor's appointments in Peoria because my mom would like pick them up in El Paso or whatever, and they would come with. And I think for my mom, just having other adults there, even if they were sitting with my sister in the waiting room, if it was a summer appointment, it was nice. But we always went to Cracker Barrel or like Steak and Shake because that's what my grandparents liked. So those are some,
And that was the best part of the appointment.
obviously, yeah, it really was. I
Is
never,
it?
I don't really ever look forward to appointments, but I guess I'm just glad now that things are generally positive and I don't really have anything to be nervous about, so to speak.
Hmm. Yeah, because like I have overcome so much. Like you're kind of out of the woods in some sense.
Definitely, definitely. So, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if she doesn't really write me a prescription for very much more physical therapy at this point because I feel like I'm in a place where I'm not needing it as much and my physical therapist feels the same. So my appointment is on the 18th, which is Easter Monday and also my birthday. So that's kind of fun. Uh, but it'll be interesting just to see how everything goes. And of course, Kyle will be the first one to get an earful about it, and then you all will hear about it, in a future episode. So
Yeah, well, it is when you get good news like that, it's like I gotta share it with somebody. Like I can't sit with this. Like you're like I've worked so dang hard. I'm gonna share.
even when
Scream it from the rooftops.
even when I found out about physical therapy at first, like I'm pretty sure you were the first person I called, and you were like, "You don't sound sad. I thought you'd sound sad," and I was like, "Well, I'm not sad. I mean, I not yet anyway. But I shouldn't really be sad because I've worked hard, and this is like, this is
You've earned this, man.
yeah, this is where we want to be. So
Yeah, you've earned it. You have dealt with so much stuff in the last 2.5 years.
the back pain, the hip pain, the oh my gosh, yeah,
The shin splints, the
yeah, and well, and then there's still stuff sometimes that bothers me, but the thing is now I have a lot more coping strategies for that. Like my feet hurt. Okay, I've got this deep blue, lovely muscle gel that I use. This is tight, that is tight. I know how to stretch just about anything I need to now. And I even know how to put my own hips back into alignment, which is something that I didn't know before. Every once in a while I go through these periods where my hips slide out of alignment all the time and I have to like do this adjustment to put them back in, and it kind of freaked my mom out the first time she helped me with it because like Trisha had her go and learn how to do the adjustment too. uh, but it's helpful to be able to do that, and it's one of those really weird skills that you don't think you're going to learn when you're in physical therapy is how to put your hips back into alignment.
yeah,
like
no, you don't think about that kind of stuff.
like this week I put them back into alignment like every other day, but I think it probably has a lot to do with my need for speed on the treadmill and the little bit of running that I've been doing. I think is just like bumping everything out of its usual swing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you'd like to learn any tips and tricks that Christina and I have, we did do our last show was dedicated to that, so please check that out.
Yeah, we talked a lot about a muscle gel that I use and a lot of other massage and stretching tools that are good for anybody, not just for people with CP. So if you haven't checked that out, check that out when you get a chance. It might be something worthwhile to hear about some of those helpful fitness and life products and what they can do to help you recover from workouts faster and just feel better in general. So.
Yeah. Nikki is congratulating you, Christina, on all your hard
Oh,
work.
well, thank you, Nikki. I really appreciate it. I always appreciate your support and sharing my videos and blogs and all the stuff I've been doing. Nikki always shares it to her group.
That's Nikki's Circle of Support, if anyone's wondering. It's on Facebook. Lena also has a comment here. There we go.
Lena says, for the last years, I have always had to advocate for myself, and now that I have my new power chair, I feel my doctors are finally listening to what I say or need. I still advocate no matter what I do. I won't give up. And that's so important, Lena, because we have to be our own advocates. You know, a lot of people like myself are fortunate enough to have family members who will advocate too. But ultimately, as an adult, it's really our responsibility to make sure we get what we need. And I feel like when someone does come along to support, it's almost a blessing, you know, because it's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I myself have just gotten used to doing that, advocating for me without necessarily expecting anybody else to.
And it does take practice, I will say. So, like, if you think, oh, I forgot to bring up this, like, that's something you just get better at it.
Right.
But thanks, Lena, for sharing that. Because I was gonna say, does anyone in our audience have any stories where they've had to advocate for themselves and at doctor's appointments or just appointments in general, dealing with anything related to living with CP? Because I feel like some people just kind of like to dismiss.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing where the more of an advocate you are for yourself, the more people are going to take you seriously. And that sounds terrible, but that's just how it is. I feel like the more we're able to express ourselves and let people know what we need and that we are capable, the more, compassion they're going to give us and realizing that we can do these things. And but yes, sometimes we need help, and that doesn't make us not capable of being a productive adult.
Yeah. Well, I have a story of being out in the community with while at work, and they assumed that I was a consumer. And I didn't realize they did until my coworker was there. And then it was like, and then they started talking to them about the thing. And I was like, oh, like here I've been talking to them, this whole time, and they didn't know I was staff. Okay. Um, so that was a bit, it was a bit, I don't want to say, I don't know if jarring is the right word, but here I thought like we had this good rapport going, we're talking, and then it's like, oh, they didn't think I was staff this whole time. Like,
Wow.
I was just surprised. So that still happens. Here I thought, you know, I have a job. They know because we've dealt with this several times. So I was just surprised that like, oh, and it was a new person. So I'm not mad. I was just more like, oh, that still does happen where they don't see me as staff.
Yeah.
But you know, better for next time. Better to know for next time.
Yeah. I mean,
because there are things I could have done. I could have introduced myself as staff to this person, and
Right.
like so now it's just like okay, um, now I know what to do. If a similar situation pops up. Um,
Right. Nikki said she said she had to teach a new person how to transfer her or how she transfers out of her wheelchair. Yeah, I feel like a lot of that's something a lot of people don't know about, and they may be like, they're. I feel like people would be sitting there or standing there like, oh, I don't know how to help you. How do we do this? And so it's good that you're able to like yourself tell them or show them how that needs to be done so that it can be done safely.
yeah, safety first.
Josh says, just making sure that you know how to ask for a prescription and why you need it is important. I was going to ask if that had ever happened, Kyle.
Yes. Just recently too. This is like last week. But then again, it was a new person I hadn't dealt with before, but I had assumed that they would just know, and I was wrong. So never assume that people know,
If it makes
because
you feel any better, I still get mistaken for a high school student. Not by other staff because I went there, but by like parents and stuff, and like some of the lunch ladies who don't see me around. Like, and
yeah,
I'm like, thanks, I guess. I mean, I guess I should be over here like, woo, I look 18 years old, but that's not the attitude I have. Usually I'm just like, really? Really? Okay. All right. Well, I'm just going to move on with my day now.
yeah. It is like, oh, I don't know. It just puts you in a place like, yeah, you always have to remember that not everyone's gonna realize that you're, intelligent or an adult, or you just always have to be aware that there are people
That are going to make
that
some.
don't see you the way you see yourself.
Right.
And Lena says Kathy is a huge advocate too for me. Well, I'm glad Kathy is there to help you. She sounds awesome because you've always had nothing but nice things to say about Kathy. So I'm glad that you are partnered up with a caretaker who is like really there to help you and treats you like family as opposed to like a client.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And the fact that you guys have been together for several years working together is great. I mean, it just really builds a trust and it makes everything go a lot smoother. I mean, I can say kind of the same for the whole trust and connection and support thing with my physical therapist because I've had I had the same physical therapist all through school, pretty much from kindergarten to like my sophomore year in high school, and then I've worked pretty much with the same physical therapist over the last 2.5 years. So that support and that connection that we have with people is something that we should definitely try to foster too. Like those connections and those supports are just another thing that can help keep us going when we really work hard to get to know people and ask the right questions and build a relationship.
For me, the deeper the connection, the better the result.
Yeah, most definitely.
So, and you're not going to be able to have super deep connections with everyone. Because there was um, a physical therapist in the past that I never really connected with um, in high school.
Yeah.
That, it just doesn't always happen, but that's okay. You
Oh,
make
I
the
have
best.
a story about. Okay, this is a sidetrack thing, but I'm just going to tell Kyle because Kyle knows. Said person that you're mentioning, who was also my physical therapist for a year, still works at the school and saw me a couple of months ago and came up and said that she thought that I looked really good and that it was nice to see me around. And I said, thank you. So that was a positive. We might not have necessarily connected or gotten to know each other real well over that year or so, but it was really nice for her to be like, "You look really good." I was like, I wanted to be like, "Why, thank you. I've been in physical therapy again for years." Like,
Well, I'm glad you were able to have a positive experience. Not that it was super negative, it just wasn't
it
to
was
the level of relationship of a PT that I had previously had to
right,
that point.
right, and it wasn't the level of challenge I'd previously had either, which is, at the time was great because I could be lazy. But as I've learned over these last 2.5 years, being lazy is not a good thing when you have CP.
No, when
You
you hit the point
force
of
yourself to,
being lazy with CP, that's when things start to go downhill.
yeah, you need to
And
be,
it doesn't start, right away. You can be lazy for a little while and think, nothing's changing. But then it just slowly,
until
like a
it's,
snowball effect, you just
yeah,
push a little snow down the hill and it just gets bigger and bigger until you choose to stop it. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
and at a certain point there is no stopping it,
yeah.
which is kind of the scary part.
Well, and that's why I've been so blessed these last couple of years. That's why I'm so thankful for this experience because I know what it's like to be in that place and I know what to do to not get there again. Like, I know I'm never going back there again. But I think just thinking back on how difficult certain things used to be is going to be enough for me to be like, yep, nope, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do my stretches, and I'm going to shut up about it. Even if I don't want to do them, I'm still going to do them because I know that that's going to move me in the right direction. You know, I'm
Yeah,
not.
and
I'm not saying I've loved every moment in physical therapy. There's some moments I'd like to forget, but there have been a lot of great triumphs too, and things that sometimes only me and my physical therapist and maybe Kyle actually get really excited about. But
yeah, and anyone with CP that's been in physical therapy and you're working towards goals and then you know you have a couple of weeks where it's like you don't feel like much is happening, but then like you have that like breakthrough and they're like, okay, try this again. And you're like, wait, I can do that now. There's just something about it that's like, oh my God, it's working. Like,
like the magic is working. Not that it's magic, because the one thing I want to say too, my physical therapist has told me this several times over the last couple of years that there is no magic wand for fixing these things, but that if we are consistent, we're going to look back and feel like it was, no time at all. You've just got to be willing to put in the effort and
yeah, it really is all about effort because if you put no effort in at home, then you're not going to see any changes when you go to your physical therapist.
well, no, and they're gonna know. And I don't know if people realize, like, they can say that they don't want to have you as a patient anymore if you're not gonna do anything that they say. And
We had to sign a thing that was like, if they notice that you're not working, they can give your spot up.
which to me, as an adult, I was like, oh gosh,
Because
okay,
as a kid, you don't think about that.
no, you don't.
Because as a kid, they just came to the school and it was like,
You had it, and that was it. Yeah.
report to the room and let's do this thing. So you don't even think about that. But as an adult, like they can be like, yeah, no, you're wasting my time. So, and that was enough right there because it's like, I'm not losing my spot. Because then I'd feel ashamed.
Yeah, but that's because that's the people we are. We're like
Yeah.
follow the rule type people. Some people might not care, but knowing how much physical therapy has helped me in my life, I definitely wanted to make the most of it. And I mean, I was frustrated at the beginning. If you all want to go back and read the blog that I posted on Facebook last week, I have a journal entry from like after my first couple weeks of physical therapy, and I look at that mindset at that point of just being like literally angry to tears at myself And then I look at now and I go, wow, like what, what a physical change, but what a mindset change. Like, I know I did that to myself, but I'm not beating myself up for it anymore because I know how to make the proper decisions and I know what to do, so to speak, when I get into a frustrated point like that again. I'm not going to say there's not going to be other times where it's, a step forward and two steps back. But I feel like just having a more positive mindset over these last couple of years, plus learning all the stretches and just all the pain management tools have been like, it's been just this huge thing of just growth overall, mentally and physically. I have more muscle now than I think I probably ever have. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, physical therapy is much more than a physical journey. It is emotional, it is mental. And a lot of it is the mental blocks that we set for ourselves. Like, I
the,
can't do this thing.
the
I'm
frustration.
not going to be able to do this thing. I won't do this thing. Like, you do have to work through a lot of that. But that's something nobody really likes to talk about. CP is very mentally taxing sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I will agree. And some of that maybe is not always understandable to people unless they've been in a physical therapy type situation, but
Yeah, you can be positive about CP because I like to think of myself and Christina as positive people and still have just bad mental days dealing with your CP,
right. And
especially back in 2020 when my knee was killing me, but I wasn't doing anything about it. Like, you can still, I mean, but mindset is important for results, in my opinion.
oh yeah, you definitely have to have the right mindset to make the most of it. If you're letting yourself get too frustrated and you're not doing everything you could be doing, you're going to stall your progress and just make yourself more angry. So it's kind of a vicious cycle.
Yeah, I think you have to be able to talk about your frustrations in
And
the journey.
that I've done like with my physical therapist. Sometimes when I didn't expect that I was going to, she's just like, Christina, and I start crying, and I'm like, oh my god. And she's like, it'll be fine. I'm like, no, it's not. And she's like, yes, it is. And that's not exactly how the conversation went, but you've got to have somebody during the ups and downs of that you can really let them know where your head is at. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult to take the next step forward. I mean, if I wouldn't have let my physical therapist know how I was feeling some days, mentally or physically, and been honest about it, what we did in physical therapy might have been too much for me physically that day. And then, you end up hurting something or just like getting even more frustrated. I mean, we've really got to be honest about where we're at.
Yeah, well, that was the thing too, because I had therapist students. I had Rebecca and oh my God, why I can't think of his name.
Right.
Greg. Oh my God. Um, I had to tell them like the order at which we did things. I think we need to like switch it up, and we tried a few different like sequences and found the right one that was where I was able to not get super tired, super quickly, because a lot of times it was like, let's do the really tough stuff at last, like let's do, we'll progressively start easy, but I actually liked the reverse of like, we can do some warm up, do some of the more strenuous stuff while I have the energy and I'm not tired, so I can do it properly,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then kind of back down from there. Um, but that was a conversation that we had to have of like how we like in the order. Maybe we could do this differently. So I had to advocate for myself in that sense of like the order in which we're doing things isn't working. So eventually we found, the sweet spot. But
Well, this has been a really great chat so far. I'm actually kind of surprised that we've spent almost 50 minutes up here.
I know you guys, But I have to be honest with you. I always feel like, am I gonna be able to talk for a whole hour? Like, and then we do. So
And we always
it,
find things to talk about. So
but if you guys have any last minute, questions or comments, concerns, about anything that we've talked about in this episode, please feel free to put it in the comments now so we have time to talk about it. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, because we really love when we have guests on, please feel free to reach out to us on our Facebook page, the CP Chronicles with Kyle and Kristina. And we both see the messages, so we're pretty good at responding rather quickly.
right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, we both do, have work during the day and everything. So don't feel like we're ignoring you, but we do try to be prompt about getting back to people so that we can get things set up. And our schedule coming up is pretty empty. So if you're feeling anxious to get on and give us an update, let us know. We can fit you in. From 2 weeks from now, we don't have anybody scheduled right now, and the week after that, we don't have anybody scheduled either. So
to be honest, we have nobody scheduled at the moment. So, if you'd like to be on, please let us know.
we took our hiatus and we got a little lazy with the whole scheduling guests thing. So it worked out that I had something that I wanted to share with you guys. I'm just super happy with how things are going, and I appreciate Kyle letting me kind of take the majority of this show to brag about myself a little bit and be like, look at me. But I hope this can serve as a roadmap to somebody else, to see that yes, it is possible to be successful even through all the craziness that I've been through over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's important. I think never give up hope or never give up sight of like your end goal, because
That's what's
you might,
kept that's what's kept me going. I mean, like I told myself, we're gonna get this back figured out, and we are gonna get back to one crutch. So when my physical therapist was like, "What goals do you still have?" I was like, "Well, first off," and she's like, "The crutch thing, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, the crutch thing. How about that? Like, put that down as a goal."
yeah, no, and she will get you there.
I have no doubt. I've been extremely, extremely blessed with like seriously some of the best physical therapists that there
Yeah,
ever have been. That's my personal opinion, but everybody up there is pretty awesome. So I'm just thankful for all the support and the support from Kyle that hears
oh,
every single one of my appointments that are probably not so interesting to him, but he listens anyway.
hey, I'm here to listen. I am here to listen. One thing I want to say though is, and you've kind of proven this over the last 2 years, don't want to rush out of physical therapy either. As much as cool as it's like, I don't need to be in it anymore. It's like, well, if you need to be in it, you need to be in it.
No, I mean, I'm just fortunate enough that my insurance, because I was born with this condition, my insurance does not limit how often that I can go because I'm on my work insurance. So it's a decent package. And I have a high deductible, and there's, other stuff there that might deter people from continuing to go. But I'm just fortunate enough that I am able to go as often as I need to go. So I feel like I can really get the most out of the whole physical therapy situation, and I've been able to stay in it. I'm not going to say longer than I needed to, but I feel like my physical therapist has been really good with, coming up with the next goal to kind of help me along the way to get me even better. And because we know that I'm somebody that's going to work for those kinds of things, I feel like that's why I've been able to be in physical therapy this long, because there's an effort there, and we know that it's going to keep moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and you've made a lot of progress. So it just, for it's just made sense to like, what's the next step? Where, and eventually you are, now at your monitoring stage, and well, soon anyway, and like, and then, but who would have thought it would take 2.5 years? You don't know, and when you start, you don't know. I didn't know it was only going to take me 4 or 5 months. I was just like, okay, help me. That was all I was concerned about at that point.
Like at that point, you needed some help, and you knew where to go to get it. So
Yeah. Well, this has been good. I'm glad Christina got to share her exciting news because she was super excited when she told me.
yeah,
I'm glad.
yeah. It's like I have good news, and Kyle's like, "Oh boy, like what's this about?" And
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be physical therapy, actually.
what you think? What did you think?
I was like, maybe it's like math or something or like work related. So I wasn't.
My thesis already because there ain't no way. Like, that thing's like gotta be like 50 pages, and I'm on like page 10. So, Lord help me.
You're getting there. You're getting there. Well, guys, I think this is a nice place to end the show unless anyone has any last minute comments, questions, or concerns. Again, please feel free to reach out to us if you want to be a guest. And the plan is to see you in 2 weeks. So let's keep on living
Laughing.
and succeeding with CP, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching, everybody. See you in a
Thanks for watching. Bye.